This is the first of what I hope will be a series of videos about my gardens. I try to incorporate many native plants and sustainable gardening practices into my landscapes. This first video highlights April in my garden in downtown Easton, Maryland. We purchased a decrepit house originally built in 1890 and completely rebuilt it. In the process, I redesigned the back and side yards and the strip of ground in front of the house. Because there are houses close to us on either side, stormwater management was important. This swale handles much of the runoff from the south side of the house. It's planted with plants that bloom in different seasons, starting with golden ragwort, Packera aurea. On the trellis along the fence is a Lady Banks rose, which I purchased deeply discounted at Lowe's 2 years ago to act as a screen. In front of it is a small sour cherry tree that I added last year after my serviceberry succumbed to rust fungus. I love sour cherries, and there were some huge ones behind my house growing up. This may not have been the best choice for this spot, but we'll see. This tall, airy shrub is Euonymus americanus, hearts a-bursting, and the vine on the fence is coral honeysuckle, Lonicera sempervirens. Let's continue down the side yard to the front of the house. Along the side, there's not much flowering this time of year except for bulbs like these daffodil bulbs. I've got a mix of shrubs, perennials, and switchgrass here. You can see we're passing by some Ilex verticillata winterberry shrubs and solidago fireworks, which will bloom later in the summer. And towards the front there are some phlox that are just coming into bloom. As we get up towards the front, there are wood asters and a sweet bay magnolia tree, and in the very front, a camellia bush. Between the front porch and the sidewalk is a little strip of terrible clay soil with western sun exposure. Next to the downspout, I've planted a red chokeberry, which is just beginning to flower. You can see the fruits from last fall. Around it is sensitive fern beginning to come up. The purple leaves are Salvia lyrata purple knockout. I've been very pleasantly surprised at its tolerance for both wet and dry soils. In the middle of the bed are summer sweet shrubs that are just now leafing out, with green and gold Chrysogonum virginianum as a ground cover. By the steps up to the porch is an evergreen inkberry, and below it some Christmas ferns. Back to the backyard, we're looking now at what I like to call the woodland garden, even though there's just one large yellowwood tree providing shade. I have a mix of shrubs and shade perennials in this section. There are a couple of Viburnum nudum winterthur by the bird feeder and an oak leaf hydrangea. Euchera villosa autumn bride is providing a nice ground cover. Below the flock of blue butterflies are Virginia bluebells from Sun Farm nurseries. They've been spreading nicely since I planted them about 2 years ago. Just last year I planted 3 Fothergillas and a pinkster bloom azalea in this area, and I added Tiarella and asters, but the rabbits seem to have eaten all the asters. Separating this section from the kayak rack is a new experiment, a wattle fence made of the stems of plants cut back in the fall and spring. I borrowed this idea from the North Carolina Botanic Garden since I hate having to throw out any organic matter. Under the yellowwood tree, spiderwort are coming up, and the hellebores, given to me by a friend, bloom beautifully starting in March. Along the edge of this path are purple coral bells and mountain mint that's just starting to come up. At the end of the path, I'm training a southern wax myrtle as a screen. This brick spiral sits above the swale and is made of old bricks left over from rebuilding the patio. I've got tulips, some iris, and strawberries planted in it, and I'm still trying to decide what the best combination of plants might be, although the strawberries do quite well. I just put up this box for solitary bees, and they moved right into the wooden block with the holes drilled in it. Finally, looking at the more formal raised bed area, this arch is planted with a new dawn rose and a toile de violette clematis with herb gardens on either side. Along the side is a perennial border where the plants are just starting to come up. Over here we've got more herbs, oregano and sage, chives, thyme in the pots. In the raised beds, I grow annual flowers and vegetables. A lot of what you see is garlic planted last fall. The Eiffel Tower came from a consignment store, and my mom made the little French flag for the top of it. The large bed in the back is for blueberries and has more acidic soil than the other raised beds. And finally, there are my 2 4-year-old sour cherry trees blooming now. I hope you've enjoyed this video. Please consider subscribing to the channel, and if you have any questions, put them in the comments below.